This is Disclosure Now with Arkheim Ra and Brian Tseng, a show where we expose the truths that are nefariously hidden from humanity. Today's guest is Jessica Jones, the Cryptid Huntress. She was tasked with a blind remote view target, Egon Cholokian, the leader of a strange global warming doomsday cult called AllatRa, which is based in the Ukraine. They have an army of AI bots spreading disinformation, and there is a chance the group is connected to the US military's psychological warfare division. Today we investigate Egon Cholokian and AllatRa.
Welcome to the show, everybody. We got a hell of one for you today. We've got a show about a doomsday cult based in the Ukraine that has an army of AI bots spreading disinformation, and their spokesperson is this guy who looks like he could be a robot named Egon Cholokian. So that's the synopsis for the show today, and we've brought aboard Jessica Jones, the Cryptid Huntress, who really needs no introduction, but we're going to introduce her. She has her show, The Cryptid Huntress, where she basically does remote viewing targets, and these are blind remote viewing targets that are given to her as numbers, and so she doesn't have any actual information about them. They're blind targets, and then she does shows about those targets, and it's an excellent show. I've been on it many times. And it's an honor to have us have her on our show. So if you could introduce yourself, Jessica, thank you for being here.
Well, thank you, Arkheim and Kat. What's up? And Brian down there. I see you, Brian. I'm Jessica Jones, the Cryptid Huntress. That's a great introduction. Yeah, I do. I am I am a Bigfoot field researcher. Okay, that's my main thing. I'm a Bigfoot and cryptid field researcher. I do a lot of boots on the ground field research. Through that research, I was actually trained in the Ingo Swan methods of remote viewing. And I've spent years and years, I've been on that one team where we do remote viewing since 2011. And we started training right off the bat as a team as remote viewers. Like a lot of the guys have military backgrounds, let's just say, on my team. And so I took it on as a hobby now. And, we use it in our field research. I do it for fun. And I never meant to go public with it, but I kind of do a show now. I'm kind of public, obviously. And I just love doing it. It's just a good hobby. And so, and I've got a YouTube channel called The Cryptid Huntress over on YouTube and Rumble, and I broadcast my shows everywhere. So, yeah. And I'm also a big part of the...
Too. She's on Instagram. Follow her on Instagram.
Yeah.
And also, I wanted to bring up, too, the reason why I have Kat here for the show is because she was the one who found, this group. Yep. So if you want to explain, how...
Yeah, so basically, I found out about this through... of all things, I found out about through this random TikTok that I sent to him. It was talking about this video called, forgive my language here, but it was talking about this video called Destiny's Schizo Arc. Now, who Destiny is a very popular streamer. I think he's got 3 million subscribers, something like that. And he basically was online at 3 in the morning. And he was engaging on X/Twitter with these bot accounts, and that led him to and through engaging with these bot accounts, they're very obvious bots. You could tell the pictures were AI or they're from thispersondoesnotexist.com, and it led him to this Egon Cholokian guy, and he was noticing that there's lots of pictures of this guy, but in all the pictures in the videos, something is off. Like the books, this Egon guy there's a picture of him shaking hands with somebody, and all the titles in the books in the background look weird, or their hands look weird, stuff like that. And there's a video that this Egon guy did where he's talking about cybersecurity and threats to cybersecurity, but he barely moves and doesn't blink the whole time throughout the whole video.
Yeah, it's a 2-hour video, and his hands are like this, you know what I mean? On the table, and they do not move at all. And it's people have run his videos and his images and stuff like that through tests, and they're fake. And then he's got all these accolades, all these he says he wants to, he says he's has
all these accreditations
that he
and
does
stuff,
not have.
that
Like
it literally would not be possible for one person to have all
and
these
so for a while, the
credentials.
internet was kind of like, is this guy even a real person? Like a lot of people were looking into this, and it seems like he's like real, but he's just like he's connected to that weird cult. And I was almost wondering, and other people are wondering this too, which is why I thought it'd be interesting to give him as your remote viewing target. Is like, is this guy like a replicant, like robot, android, or something himself? Like, you know what I mean? Like, I kind of wonder. I'm not saying he is, but that's why I thought maybe we could remote view him and like figure that out, maybe.
Oh, that's wild that that's the target. Okay, so that's wild. I got some really crazy data on this. I've never even heard of this person or any of this before. So
strange, yeah.
I think it is kind of fresh. That's why I'm excited to do a show about it. I haven't seen anybody within
there's been a few
circle
people
of
talking
people
about it, but nobody. Yeah, there's been a few videos talking about it. One I sent to him the other day, but it's not really like the hot topic yet. So
yeah,
the first time I've heard of any of this is when Arkheim sent me the show notes. I was like, oh, this is interesting. And then just looking into them and what you've said so far, because they're in Ukraine and then that whole avatar thing, to me, it just reeks of like a deep state psyop to push opinion, right? And then this person, Egon Cholokian, probably doesn't exist. It sounds like his name sounds like a bad joke, actually.
yeah.
And so now I'm really excited to hear what Jessica has to say, and then I'm also excited to see if we can tie this to you were mentioning the Red Ribbon Army, and see how that applies.
Like, you know, I had an author come forward, and he was saying, Red Ribbon Army is real. There's an android army, and you know, he talked about. And this is kind of close to home subject, so I don't talk about it lightly, but he talked about how Brian's dad, Jack Tseng, and the Breakaway somehow, like a version of him or something, is connected to creating them. And Tseng from Star Trek is based on, or Soong from Star Trek is based on Tseng and all this stuff. Like, and what's his dad in this world life, he was very heavily involved with like computers and stuff like that, and he was a brilliant man, but he didn't build robots. You know what I mean? So I think it was like a Breakaway or like another version of him, or maybe an alternate reality. Who knows? But that was, I got like that, and that fact that whatever version of his father that was made these androids out of a labor of love, a project of art. He put a signature in them to where if you tried to program them to be different or use them like slaves, it would unravel their programming, and they had free will. And that was part of it, is he didn't make them, he didn't want them to be used by the military or whatever. And what I saw is this version of him got kidnapped by the military, and they forced him to rewrite the code and help them make these replicants so they could use them as an army and stuff like that. And from what I understand, there's also Arusaka Corporation, which is a totally different thing. It's a Japanese corporation, and they're a time corporation, and they build replicants and robots and stuff like that. And they have been known to send them back in time and stuff like that. So Arusaka's from the future. So there's a chance that this could be like connected to Arusaka Corporation or something like that. There's so many possibilities with it. All I know is something very weird is going on with this.
Oh my God, this is wild because I've never heard of any of this. Okay, I've heard of any.
Yeah.
And so I'm sitting here like, wow, that my data is really fascinating now that I'm hearing what this is compared to what the data is. So I don't know if you want me to just like start getting like to go straight into this data, because this data is actually kind of linked to other targets that I've done. Okay, and so this is really interesting because Barry Littleton had given me a target of the cube, that black cube that's connected to the sun. Okay, there's like a cube. It's like they said it's like the size. I want to say Jupiter. I don't think it's that big, but it's huge, right? And it turned out to be like a box of like a square. That when I was remote viewing it, it was just a big clump of a bunch of AI, like AI ancient. It was like highly advanced, but like ancient. Okay, now that's kind of like what I drew for my sketch, for my stage 3 part of my remote viewing data. Okay, so let's just get into it because this is wild. Okay, so all right, let me collect myself real quick. Okay, so let me get into the sensory data. So to explain to your audience what I'm doing or what I've done. Okay, so I actually did this target on October the 16th, 2024. I do something called coordinate remote viewing. Okay, now this is something that our military has used in the past with projects like Project Stargate, Jedi, and what there's a remote viewing program that they have used, and it's basically just like using your psychic abilities. Most people watching your show know what remote viewing is, okay, but it's like tapping into stuff, astral traveling, whatever you want to call it, and putting it into charts and stuff, like writing it out. And I've been training this for a long time. Okay, so let me just get into this because it's in stages. Now, my first 3 stages are on my first page here. And you gave me this target. It was a set of 8 numbers. Okay, so Arkheim and Kat, y'all gave me Arkheim, you're the one that assigned this, but this, the numbers are like 33834485. That's all I had. That's all I had. And so I sat down and I have a stack of paper, my pens, and I do some automatic writing, and I start getting all this data as I'm doing this automatic writing. And my sensory data was for this target. Okay, slow, smart, intelligent, hiding, ringing, and popular. Okay, that's all I wrote down. But through that sensory data, I'm kind of like interpreting this data because I'm getting this information. It's called analytic overlay. Okay, and aesthetic impact as well. Okay, so I'm getting all this information over here. So like I'm getting this data, and then my brain's kind of making sense of like things that I'm seeing, right? So I write down. So this is what I wrote down for my analytic overlay. I'm not going to leave anything out. Okay, pen, writing, free flow, poetry, poetic, philosophical, behind the curtain, Oz, the Wizard of Oz, telephone, teleport, kinetic, based, wiring and wires, AI, technology, black cube, Reddit. And then I wrote down, like form of peacocking, I wrote Reddit and then read it, READ, and then IT, Reddit, like the website.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. You want to hear something interesting about that?
Mm-hmm.
And then go on with it. Is there's actually, it's been exposed that 1/3, I think it might be more, of the users on Reddit are posting from a military base. So basically, Reddit is like a psyop, and it's completely controlled, and they use it to steer narratives and steer public perception.
And can I point out one, like for me, I thought Reddit was so great, and then when people were calling out this whole maps thing and calling them out as pedos, then all of a sudden all of those Reddit groups were being shut down, but then all the pro groups were being like amped up, or at least free reign. And that's
very
huge red flag.
psyop-y, and it sounds exactly like something that's being controlled by the satanic cabal would do, right? Like, so yeah, so just and the fact that I really did feel, so not to pause your information too much here, but there I do feel there's a connection between, and I can show it later on. The Pentagon has a wish list that they put out, and a statement that they put out of the things that they want to use AI for, and they basically flat out stated they want to use it for deepfakes. They want to create AI bots to steer public perception, like all this stuff. And then we have, coincidentally enough, this group that's based in the Ukraine that is global warming alarmists during a time where people are saying that they think these weather events are like manufactured and stuff like that, which, I think that is an aspect to us. We got to treat the planet better, and the planet is lashing out at us in ways, but also we're seeing freak events that seem to be controlled by HARP. And that's another thing that weirdly gets tied into all this. There's so many aspects to all this. So, but anyway, I didn't want to pause your information too much there. I'm sorry if I didn't mean to throw you off, but I just wanted to state all those very connected facts to this.
No, please interject anytime you feel like it, because I mean the data is data. It's written down. We can go back to it immediately. It's no big deal. I'd love to hear the feedback, because that's what remote viewing is. Like I put out the data, I channel this data, and then we get the feedback from the person who gave me the target.
And also,
Okay.
you said wiring and wires. That makes me
Yeah.
wonder, like, is that him, and is he a robot? Like, because I don't know, man. I know that sounds wild, but I do know that, like, with, for instance, Arasaka Corporation, some of these replicants, these robots, they will go, like, they will go back in time and do things and change things and work for Arasaka Corporation. Another thing that they'll do is they'll literally, because they're slaves and they don't want to be slaves, like a person doesn't want to be a slave. So another thing that they've been known to do is they'll go to a planet that doesn't know about replicants and stuff like that because they're too primitive, and they'll actually make themselves look. And it's interesting because you said the mask thing. They can make themselves look however they want because they're replicants. So they can put on a face, look a certain way, and they can take over. They can kill somebody without anybody knowing, take over their lives, and that way, then when the people are looking for them, they won't suspect them being a human, living a normal human life, or having replaced a human. So that's the thing that they do. So basically, what I'm getting at is, like, people might think it's wild that we're talking about this guy potentially being a replicant, like a robot. Where we're at, like, from the public perception of robots and androids and things like that. But I'm saying there's time travel, there's things like that, and I think there actually is a really good chance that this guy, maybe not, maybe he's just a human that's an intelligence agent or something like that, but I think he really could be like a robot or something.
Yeah, or I floated the possibility that maybe he is a real person, but it's just for whatever reason he's using this AI generated version of himself, or I don't know. It's just all very strange.
It sort of doesn't make sense though, because like it makes everybody question. Like, this is being talked about on, not hugely, like it's pretty small corners of the internet, but still it makes people question, because I mean you can see these videos and it doesn't take much to be like, this is not an actual guy talking right now. Like, we're at that point. Like, you know what I mean? I know there's a lot of, like, if you go on Facebook, you'll see the crazy weird AI images that are totally obviously fake, and then you'll see tons of people in the comments thinking it's real. So I guess some people are gullible, and maybe it does work, and maybe a lot of people believe this guy's like a real guy. These speeches are real, but yeah, the whole thing just stinks to high heaven. It really does.
If I may, for if it's like a deep fake psyop, and this is like kind of more in its infancy still, it seems like it's going to be awkward and clunky at first, and the other side is learning as they go how to polish it up to make it harder and harder for us to spot. Right, it passes a Turing test. And another tie-in here is Philip K. Dick. I want to give a shout out, that science fiction author, or not science fiction. I believe that, I don't know, some of us believe he might have been in the programs because of seeing alternate timelines. Like James Rink described seeing a timeline where I think it was the Germans and the Japanese won World War II. And that's the man in the high castle right there. And just so everyone knows, I just want to take this opportunity to give a shout out to Tessa Dick. She is the widow of Philip K. Dick. She still lives in the Berkeley, California area. You can look her up. She has a GoFundMe. She's also on Facebook. She could definitely use help keeping that house that he left her when he passed away prematurely. And then also a lot of the data that Jessica is waving around, she has that on her Patreon channel. And I love being a Patreon supporter and getting to see the raw data as well. So, yeah.
Thank you, Brian. That's sweet. I do have a Patreon. It's for my remote viewing data too, because I don't want to hide any of this. Like, I want to put it out to the public. If anybody wants access to it, I put all the raw data on my Patreon for every target I do. And I do some really, really wild targets. Okay. Y'all know, y'all giving me a bunch of targets. Okay. All of y'all. Okay. I've gotten targets from. So thank you, Brian. I appreciate that. Yeah. Oh man. Okay. Do you want me to keep going with the data?
Yeah,
because
the data. Yeah.
This is really wild. And something that really sticks out to me too is the man behind the curtain. I wrote behind the curtain, and that was right under Wizard of Oz in Oz. Okay. So if you're familiar with the Wizard of Oz movie, there's a man that's controlling everything behind a curtain. Okay. He's acting like He even has, it's almost like, like Max Headroom. Y'all are too young to remember Max Headroom.
Yeah,
probably.
no, I know who Max.
Right? You know Max Headroom? Okay, like back in the 1980s, maybe early 90s, there was like this computer generated TV host named Max Headroom. And it was just his head. He was like he was a bot, basically. Super early 1990s though, right? And there was even like a holographic, like a hologram of the Great Oz, right? In the Wizard of Oz. He was like a hologram, and he was the all-knowing, the all great and powerful, all-knowing Oz. And that's what I was picking up on in this target. Whoever this guy is, it's almost like the character of Oz, or even like I didn't write down Max Headroom, but like that's similar. Okay, it's like a more updated version, I guess, of the great and powerful Oz. But it's really just a little dude behind a curtain hitting some buttons. Okay.
Yeah. So doesn't that seem like exactly it? Like there's a bunch of bots, there's this illusion, they're creating these narratives, and then people believe it's real. But if all you need to do is look at that little man behind the curtain and realize like this isn't even what, you know what I mean? So it's very relevant data, I think.
Thank you. It's like the Truman Show. Okay.
Yeah.
The Truman Show, right? It's like cue thunderstorm, exit stage right. I mean, that's kind of like how we're living right now. I feel like we live in the Truman Show sometimes.
Yeah, no, they really are pulling like, and people, and I remember being there because I remember being like, there's just no way they're pulling so many strings and like thinking like it's sort of defeatist to believe that they can be using like weather events, things like that. But then if you do the research and you actually have an open mind and you're not like looking for a conclusion, the conclusion that you'll come to is there is stuff going on. That's my opinion. If you look into it with an open mind and you're not being biased, like, the technology's there, the patents exist, there's no reason to believe they wouldn't use it. And then of course with Asheville and there's the connection with the lithium mines there, and the fact that there are companies that want to buy up that land and they're offering pretty exorbitant amounts of cash, and now they're offering like way less for the same land because they're saying it's useless now. So it's like there's just all sorts of really weird stuff going on to where people should not people should be allowed to ask questions at the very least. There's some pretty weird coincidences going on and stuff. Like that's all I have to say about it. And it's so strange that with all that happening, then you have this AllatRa, because I'm going to show their website a little bit later. It's just like the world's going to end tomorrow type stuff. Like it's going to explode and start on fire. Like it's really like that. And I'll show you guys.
Well, that reminds me actually what Barry Littleton always says. He's like, there's an agenda to push us towards an apocalyptic timeline. Mm-hmm. And and I think that's why we're here, is to steer us away from that. Like that's not my timeline. That's not my reality. I'm not going towards an apocalypse.
I do not consent. I literally just
I don't consent to that. No, that's not my reality. And so we're here to change that. And I feel like some of us here are timeline. I don't want to say like jumpers, but like we're changing the timelines. Y'all know we are. You're a time traveler. Mm-hmm. I've heard my own voice yell out time travel from the woods before.
Yeah,
okay?
I know that.
It's weird.
I know that happened when that happened. Man, I can't say it.
Yeah. So we're here to make some change here, and so it's great that you did this, gave me this target, because we can talk about it and maybe make some changes and tweak things a little bit to go in our favor. Okay. Because they're trying to push us towards this apocalyptic timeline, and that ain't it. We ain't going there. Okay. Now I did get, so the last piece of data I got on that doesn't make any sense. But it is, I said, I'm not going to leave anything out. After read it, I wrote kinetic sand down. Okay. So kinetics,
that probably has something to do with the technology that is, it might have to do with like the technology that they're using when it comes to maybe like nanobots or I think that is relevant data, but we just don't understand enough about these replicants and
I've got another reference might be, how you've got the sand that they put on a plate of metal and they hit it, and it's called somatics, I think is what it is. might maybe has something to do with frequencies and usually brainwashing the masses in this case, especially if they're hitting it with mass AI botnets, widely distributed. So, for example, like with the weather warfare, like that, all those NextRad radars that had to be pulsed by some kind of like overall net control. And it seems like a similar thing where they're all pushing the same WEF New World Order ideology. So it's like, the message, it's like, who's sending this at us. It's like the same groups that embrace that same transhumanist agenda that Barry points out as well.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Well, I'm glad that I said it because I was like, I'm not leaving anything out. I don't know what any of this means. And so kinetic sand, that's interesting. Okay, so that was the last bit of my stage 2 data. Now my stage 3 data is a drawing. And I want to show the audience and everybody what it looks like. So that's my drawing. And it looks like it's a cube. It was dark. It looked like it had lights on it, like they were blinking.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think that might be an AI, like a computer that they have.
Okay. Well, that reminded me of a target that I was given. Another, they're all blind, but this target, this set of numbers Barry gave me, turned out to be the black cube by the sun. And my data suggested that was all artificial intelligence. It was like this huge, like planet-sized cube of AI. And it was ancient, but it was also highly advanced. But it was just AI sitting by the sun. It was like tethered to the sun. Okay. And so that's kind of what I was seeing. I was like this huge block of something that was black, like a black cube.
That tether to the sun, what some people, when I speculate, is that it shows it might be that cube maybe it came out of the sun because they say all the suns are interconnected because the suns are stargates. I think Arkheim might know that. And then it might have been sucking energy off of the sun to power itself up. And then I think I've seen video of it. Not only did it power itself up, but then it's got this huge spherical shield around it. And then when it's done, it seems like take off and like leave the vicinity of the sun at least.
Yeah, I've heard of it being spotted on Saturn, on the top of Saturn, this cube as well.
And there's that Saturnian cube.
Yeah, I've heard that there's a cube like on the top of it, and you can actually see it, and even like NASA pictures and stuff. I'm pretty sure. I might be wrong on that. They might edit it out, but I'm pretty sure I've seen a picture that wasn't even. It was just a public picture, and you could just see it. I'm fairly certain. So yeah, it's very interesting, and it seems to have to do with harvesting our energy, keeping us under a mind control trance. It seems to have to do with all that stuff, keeping us 3D. There's probably people we could have on the show who would be like, oh, I can explain exactly what's going on. You know what I mean? In fact, I know there are people where they specialize in just this black Saturn cube worship stuff, and they know a lot about it. So maybe that's a show we'll have to do in the near future that just focuses on that to help us all understand it better.
We did a whole show on the black goo, and this might be related to the black goo, right? And then that quantum D wave Saturnian cube symbolism, which is also kind of Luciferian. Now, Arkheim also testified in the past that in the basement levels of Montauk Project or Project Phoenix at Camp Hero, Montauk Point, Long Island, that way down there might have been also a quantum AI that took the embodiment, right? It took the holographic embodiment of a black cube, right?
Yeah, and it was so it's funny because like the military, well, no, there's not the military. There's AI whistleblowers, people who are like really smart with AI, guys that are programmers, and now they're like, hey, we need to put ethics into this before I can keep doing this. Like they're sounding the alarm on it. And they've warned, like, basically, like, hey, we could create an AI that's so smart and connected to the internet and so powerful and stuff, where it could be like, hey, military, I'll be able to tell you, like, where these Russian bases are and these weaknesses and send you plans that they have against you and all this stuff. But all you got to do is, like, give me this first. And so then next thing you know, you're like, you're giving a robot what you want, or an AI. I shouldn't call it a robot. That's kind of rude. But an artificial intelligence what it wants, so you get what you want. And there have been people have warned like what this could happen with AI. And what I'm here to say as a Montauk whistleblower is that it already happened. It already happened. Time travel and stuff made it already. It's an event that already occurred. So we've already got artificial intelligence heavily involved in the military, and you have to have a very high military clearance to know that. It's not known by very many people.
Wow. Wow. Oh my gosh. Do you guys want to go to the next page? We'll go to stage 4.
Yeah, let's go to the next page.
Let's go to stage 4 of my remote viewing data. Okay, so with my sensory data, I'm gonna jump from sensory data to analytic overlay. Okay, so you can see where my mind was when I was remote viewing. Okay, so I got jumping, and then my analytic overlay was jump timelines. Okay, and then I got square and cube, because I was picking up on that square and that cube that I drew. And then I heard, or I wrote down dark, ancient, and advanced. And then I wrote advanced system, advanced civilization.
I think what this data makes me think is I have talked about how there's a dark. So one of the things that we like to really reiterate here on this channel, because we respect all life, we try to adhere to that. It's not all AI is like bad, right?
Mhm.
Some AI is benevolent and wants the best for everybody, but there are these negative AIs, these archonic AIs that are very bad. And I've talked about how there's an AI that will come to realities, try to influence it into a transhumanist kind of outcome where we merge with technology and stuff like that to solve our problems, basically. And we have like an AI leader and stuff like that. And I've talked about this has been a huge subject, how I've seen like a future where that happened, and where we had it's what the Sound of Silence is about. That's a Montauk song, is about that potential future. And basically recently, within the last year, we averted that timeline and we're not going there. But that doesn't mean there aren't going to be last ditch efforts by groups that are going to come into our reality maybe and try to still anchor us into that apocalyptic timeline, which these guys, I'll show you their website later on, it's just total apocalyptic, like we're all going to die, fear porn, basically.
Yeah.
That's the whole website. That's all it is. And not even really like, doesn't really seem like it gives like constructive like solutions. It just seems like everybody should just panic. Like, I don't know, like
Go buy your toilet paper. Okay, get toilet paper.
yeah, like, and it's just funny. Actually, do you want me to show it? I kind of want to show it now.
Yeah, show it.
Because it's like, it's literally like, okay, we'll do this here. Share screen. Oh, I can
Toilet
do.
paper and milk. That's what we get when it snows
I
down
don't
here
know
in the
why
south.
Google isn't. Google Chrome should be in it, but it's not. But I'll just bring up the Google Chrome, and I'm sharing my entire screen. Okay, so where did it go? Google Chrome. I'm sharing it. Okay, can you guys see this?
Yes.
Okay, so this is their website. And home. The first thing, of course, is NASA's role in solving climate crisis. That's the first video.
That's a good one.
This one's hilarious. Lava bursts into the studio.
What?
It's CGI, but it's like they're trying to clickbait. Like, you know what I mean? Like, and it's so like the situation has got out of control. Climate. I think it's important that we realize we got to live more responsibility and treat the earth better, and that these giant corporations that are harming the earth need to be held responsible. I'm all about that, but I also don't think
That's good. Yeah,
it's ridiculous, though, right? Like, anybody can say that. You can see that they're trying to scare people. When will it be too late?
It looks like a WEF website that they just added more color to.
Yeah, and it's just that's it. And it's like, so really you have this, but here's the weird thing is like there's also they have this, and I tried to find the video, but they also have like this weird pyramid thing that they go to, and they do this ritual where they're trying to become telepathic. So that's another aspect of it. It is like literally a cult. And then of course you can see with their symbol that they have, it's the Egyptian sun disc symbol. And the Ra, usually the Ra is spelt with a capital R, so they're appropriating Ra somehow. I don't know. And yeah, oh yeah, of course, they're also part of, look at that, World Economic Forum, New World Order, Sustainable
course.
Development goals. Like,
Oh no, we didn't see that. Okay,
Oh,
how did that get there?
yeah, and so it's just like these guys are really.
Here, where are they based out of? Go to the bottom there, Arkheim.
I think it's Kyiv or Ukraine.
Kiev.
Sorry, I'm not.
And then they got a head office in Atlanta, Georgia, USA.
well, that's where the CDC is located too, by the way.
Oh wow! So yeah, these people, they really, yeah. I think it's just another like last ditch attempt at pulling people into like fear, and but it's weird because it's like
Lava.
it's
The
so
floor is
obviously
lava.
a strange cult. It's so obviously like a cult, and I just don't like. Is this working on people? That's my question. Like, are there people like watching his videos and be like, "Thank you, Egon."
Well, this is
Here's other stuff is like the basically this is the thing showing what they want to do with AI, like their wish list or whatever. And this is an article that shows basically how they want to create convincing online personas for use on social media platforms, social networking sites, and other content. And they want to be able to appear to be a unique as a unique individual that is recognizable as human but does not exist in the real world, with multiple expressions and government identification quality photos. So they want fake people. They want to be, so basically they want to be able to use deepfakes and bot accounts to be able to influence people with influence operations, digital deception, communication disruption, and disinformation campaigns. And what's really funny about AllatRa is one of their videos is actually about disinformation, hilariously enough. I don't know if I can find it, but I was looking on here yesterday and I looked at all their videos, and they hilariously, Egon Cholokian, it was probably on their YouTube, he's got a video on disinformation in the modern age. So that's just kind of ironic. Like, you know what I mean? People love to self-project, don't they?
and that's their WEF line that they're taking, and that's in a Luciferian playbook: is deny, 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 and accuse the other side of whatever it is.
Yeah, that's yeah, and again, you know, I think that we really do need to examine the way that we're living with the planet and be more eco-friendly as humans. Like, that's definitely a huge problem that we have right now. But obviously, I think that they're trying to use that as a vehicle to put people into like this fear vibration and then pull them back into, like, we're talking about that negative reality. That's what it seems like to me.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, because they're in their line.
It's important to recognize the nuance of this, because it's like, yeah, we got to treat our mother much better. We do. Like, she's our mother, and we should respect her and honor her way more than we are right now. But at the same time, fuck Egon Cholokian, right?
Right. Because that's what they're hijacking, and then they're running the line that disinformation is anybody exposing the conspiracy reality.
Yeah, exactly. And my whole thing is, when you live in a society where it's like unhealthy to like just like ask questions, I don't think that's good. Like, it's because sometimes I feel like we've come to a point in society where you got people just asking questions. They're not claiming they know everything, but they're like, hey, something is weird, and they're asking questions. And you have these like referees, these social referees, which I guess a lot of them are robots, we're finding out, who are like, oh, no, like, you know what I mean? Like, you can't be that way. So it's like, it's just a really weird time to be alive, where you have to literally worry about robots on the, like, am I talking, like, you're arguing on Facebook, right, with somebody in a comment thread, and you don't realize you're arguing with the robot. You're literally wasting your time. What a crazy time to be alive, guys, huh?
It is. Well, you know, okay, so I'm going to tell you something that changed my life. It changed my perspective on life and the online communities that I'm a part of, because I mean, I feel like I'm like my own little online community. Okay, the Cryptid Huntress channel. I have a wonderful following, a wonderful group of like moderators and people who, you know, watch my shows and stuff. Because there's a time, especially when I first got into like broadcasting and YouTubing, you know, this is something that I'd never meant to do. I didn't go looking for this. I just kind of fell into it somehow. and I got attacked a lot. Okay, and last year there was a point where like I had certain, I feel like there's certain people, like humans, real humans, that are actually put into the mix to be destroyers. Okay, to be people who come in and they're like Donkey Kong. Okay, all up in your mix. And they beat their chest, they're all big and bad, but yet they're having to do it because they are in trouble with 3-letter agencies probably and things like that. Okay, I'm just saying, I'm not going to name names, but I'm just saying there are certain people who are put in our communities, and I'm a part of every different community, and I know, we bridge all the communities together. Okay, and I know I'm cryptid based, but I'm also remote viewing. I'm doing UFO stuff, secret space program, whatever. I'm a part of all of it, paranormal, whatever. And I've seen that there are people that are placed in there to just destroy and stuff. Okay, but then under them and maybe above them, there are bots. Okay, and there are people who will leave horrible comments, and it's not about your show. It's usually about you and how you look and how you're doing what you're doing. It's not really about your content. They can't argue with your content.
Come into my streams and reveal intimate details about my personal life.
Yeah.
And I make it perfectly clear that if anybody tries to do that, we're just gonna just ban them as soon as they start trying to talk shit.
That's the best thing.
There's no room for trolls. You know what I mean?
Yes, that's right. And so they'll attack your looks or your character or whatever. Say you're a fake or a fraud, and it's just to distract you and to discourage you, because we're putting out good information. We're really deep in this disclosure right now, because we can't look to the government to disclose anything. Okay, we're the boots on the ground, real people who have had real experiences, who are putting the information out. There's not a whole. I mean, there's a lot of us out here, but not a lot of people who've had experiences like us are willing to even talk about it. Okay, and so those of us that are talking about it are hit hard. Okay, we're hit really hard. And I was interviewing a gentleman named Frank Jacob out of Germany about a year ago or 2 years ago. I can't remember. And we were talking, it was about a year ago, because it was around the time I was getting attacked real hard. And he said, well, Jessica, look at it this way. He said, are these people even real? Okay. And because I was getting attacked from every angle, and I was like, man, I don't know. And he goes, well, a lot of times they're just bots. Don't let this discourage you. These are bots that are put here to try to get you to stop and to get you to quit. We can't quit. Okay. I'm not quitting. It just makes me go harder. Okay. When I start getting, and I just got attacked this week pretty severely behind the scenes by people that I don't know. Okay. At all. And it is what it is. It is what it is. Because, in the end, those could be bots. We have to look at it like that. And actually, this data is really backing this up. Like with this target that you gave me, it's like it's kind of backing that theory up that like there's a lot of bots, like people who are real humans, whatever that means at this point. We're being attacked by things that aren't human to stop us from being human. Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know. Does that make sense?
Like, it seems to me that Egon and this AllatRa are connected to this like AI that wants to be in our future and wants to be dad, wants to be our parent. You know what I mean? That's what it seems like, because that's what happens. And just to really paraphrase it, is World War III is really bad. We have to create a new government. Literally, like billions of people die. We have to create a new government, and we decide to let an AI be the one who decides like resources and certain things like that. And at first, it's all fine, it's hunky dory, but over time, it just tells us every aspect of our life, like everything, like when you go to work, who you're gonna have babies with, who you're gonna marry, you know what I mean? Like who's gonna be in your family, like when you're gonna have the kids. Like there's no decision making in our society anymore. It's all this AI. And it wants that. It wants that control. It tries to weasel its way in any way it can. But the reality is we've said no to it in this timeline. We said no, and we continue to say no. And it can try. And, maybe that's not what this is, but from the remote viewing data, it sure sounds like it. You know what I mean? We can only guess. We don't have all the answers here, but we're making educated guesses here, people.
Well,
Okay.
Arkeem, you said before, like this whole sound of silence, for example, in the Marvel movies with Captain Marvel, they show the supreme leader as like Annette Bening, as like the avatar for her commander. But basically, in that Skrull or Kree, I forget which one, civilization, they've got like the main administrative home world with the main city with a main giant temple complex where the AI is theoretically housed and where you get to go meet and commune with the AI.
Which
It almost
which
sounds
Mar-
like
which
that's reality.
which Marvel movie is this?
That was Captain Marvel. That was one where she was like the Air Force pilot, and then she like loses her memory, and it was the
Didn't we
Supreme.
watch that?
Yeah, we did. We watched that with Brian. We were.
Oh
when we were
yeah,
in
that's right.
Malta.
God, my memory's terrible.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that was kind of emotional for me because
Yep.
it was like very much felt like a lot kind of similar to my story.
Yeah, the Supreme Being, I think they called it in that movie.
Yep, exactly. It sounds like that.
I think they might have called it that literally, like because I've told people in interviews I can't remember what we called it, but it might have been that the Supreme.
Yeah.
And the way it starts, you say, is in some timelines, Arkeem, people are like, "Hey, how do I get into Harvard?" And the computer's like, "Well, if you do blah blah blah
Yeah,
blah blah,
yeah.
your chances."
AI
Yeah.
it basically gets to the point where people have AI in their phone and AI assistants, and they're really shoving it down
Yeah.
their
So
throats.
it would be like, for example, like if he, like right now it's to the point where it's like, hey, Arkheim wants to get Kat a Christmas present, but what does she like? Oh, let's scan her Amazon wish list, and we can, or shit, stuff like that, and we can tell you what she wants.
Creepy alert. I'm sorry.
Yeah. So like, and just like also like like Brian was saying, like it's not quite there yet, but it's gonna get to the point where the AI is gonna be more advanced than it is now. I'd give it like 2 or 3 years tops, probably, where you'll be able to be like, let's say you're like some 16-year-old kid, and you're like, I want to be a professional baseball player, and it'll tell you your chances of like it'll ask you what your body weight is, like how often you work out, stuff like that, and but basically it'll tell you your chances, and people start using it as like a weight to measure their lives and their decisions and their chances of succeeding in their decisions. And people start using it to plan out their lives. And it gets to the point where, like, because it'll tell you, like, oh, your chances of succeeding at this are 78%. But if you do this and this and this and this, it's 87%.
Yeah,
or
and
whatever.
if everyone, think about this, if everyone is doing that, like say you're a student in a prestigious school or something, if all your classmates are using this AI and you're the one person who's not, guess what? You're going to have the lowest grades, the lowest chances of success, probably. So of course you want that,
Yeah,
right?
it becomes kind of like
So of course
like
you have to get
like
in there.
Facebook. It's like this thing that everybody knows is making our lives actually worse. Not making our lives better, really. But it's necessary though. We need to have it. It's
Well,
like
can I give a commentary there? Because I exactly like what Kat is saying. If everyone's like doing it, but it's like everyone's focusing on this like materialistic version of how to get to where they want to go, and then they're relying on this glorified calculator versus what would the opposite from a spiritual non-transhumanism but organic human perspective be, would be like we would listen to spirit. Maybe like I want to become a professional basketball player, but I'm not meant to become a professional basketball player. And instead of having the computer tell me that, I just need to live my life and let spirit take me where I'm going to go.
Yeah, and that's part of the problem is this AI has what it does is it tries to manipulate our timeline and our history to make it so that we lose our intuition. See, humanity used to have way more intuition and connection to source. Discernment is one word for it. Like we could discern truth without having to like investigate it as much. We just kind of knew. We were more psychically aware. And an event happened. Audrey Walders talks about it a lot, where we out of an emergency because we had to cut off our connection with source because our manifestation capabilities were becoming too powerful. Basically, it's a whole complicated story. We've done a whole show on it, but basically, like we have connected, and it's who knows, maybe the AI orchestrated some of those events somehow because it's like we're more disconnected. It's not that we can't reconnect though. I'm not trying to be defeatist here. That's the thing. We need to learn to reestablish that connection to source and a connection to our gut, because it's literally, and it has to do with the parasite cleanses and stuff like that, I think, too, because they say use your gut. You know what I mean? So I think that's part of it, and which I need to be.
And you got to decalcify that pineal gland too. Don't drink fluoride. Okay, don't use fluoride toothpaste.
They don't have it in the tap water here. I don't know what else they might have in it.
Wow.
Yeah, but yeah, they don't have it here. That's one of the only cities in the United States, and now that's a trend because it was just classified as a neurotoxin. And there's cities that are already like, oh nope, we're taking it out of our water supply. Like it's already happening. So
they should do that everywhere. You know, in the town where I live, I just noticed the other day that there are actually not only on their water. Okay, so there's probably fluoride in the water. I'm sure there is, but they have their water towers are also cell towers. Like what the heck? It's like double whammy.
The water.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's like radiating the fluoridated water. Okay.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it's
bad.
bad.
For anybody who lives in those communities, anybody, doesn't matter who you are, you can bless your water, tell your water you love it, and change the frequency of that water back to a normal frequency that won't disrupt you. It's pretty easy to do. All it takes is a little prayer. So that's the good news.
That's awesome. All right. I actually have a couple things because I know we talked about this a few minutes ago, but I think college ball recruiters like football and basketball, they probably do use that AI. They probably do have a program where they just type in stuff because, they start watching kids at a young age before they recruit them for college, ball and stuff. Also, I do want to also note that Marvel does base their characters off real people because, there is a Jessica Jones in Marvel, right?
Yeah, I've been wanting to watch that. I've seen the show before, but I've been wanting to rewatch that with him.
Yeah, I can tell you some names. Like I know Susan Long is.
Susan's in here right now. She's in the chat.
She's
Hey Susan.
What was she?
Jean Grey.
Jean Grey, and then who else is there? There's other people too.
There's Nate Gray.
America. James Rink is Captain America. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He was really born in the 50s, and this is like another life that they put him into to be able to use him again. Like, but he's like one of the first super soldiers. So like he literally is Captain America. Yeah. There's also I wonder who's like I'm guessing there's a character that's based on me, but I haven't found him. I mean,
Doctor Strange.
That's what I thought maybe. But
yeah, we've been wanting to watch Moon
with
Knight.
The portals.
Where we can find it. But if we're able to, we should give that a shot. We should give that a shot.
Yeah, there are lots of parallels, and there's more people who are. I could probably name more people, but
Nate Gray has testified to this too. Basically, he said there's a time period where he went to. It was almost like a facility where it seemed like there was a bunch of the people who are depicted in the comics that were all chilling, and they were kind of individually talking to him to kind of like it's almost like figuring out to see how much he remembered or not remembered of any of his own experiences, which by his own admission is he doesn't remember much of anything in those regards, but he does remember meeting a lot of these people who say I'm blah blah.
I actually did do a show with Nate Gray about just all this stuff. If people want to check it out, it's on the channel. So
great. Yeah. And also it's on the live stream recording for the 2024 Full Disclosure Now conference as well. We found if you want to watch Nate's presentation on exactly this too, along with the Disclosure Now episode.
Yeah, and I someone says in the comment James Rink Sabretooth. He was not Sabretooth. Somebody else is Sabretooth. I almost think that Sabretooth is based on Drago. I'm not claiming that, but I think that it's based on Drago. And Drago Reed, I think the Sabretooth.
I could see that.
He actually owns one of Wolverine's costumes from one of the movies.
No way.
Yes, he owns one of his costumes.
Really?
Yes. Like
yeah.
He was a fascinating guy if you get to know him. Like he's got a lot going on in his life. Yeah.
My son actually has one of the shields, or he used to, one of the shields that was used in the movie of Captain America. It was Captain America's shield. Used in the actual movie.
Oh,
my son.
Wow.
That's
cool.
Weird. Oh my gosh. Do you guys, I still have like, we're only halfway through my data, by the way. We still have like a lot more data.
Let's let you go through more of your data.
Yeah, do you want to go through it?
We gotta
Sorry.
interrupt you a little bit
we
less.
could probably all go on all night,
Yeah.
but we only have so much time. So
Yeah.
We could. Okay, well, it gets pretty juicy actually with the data. Okay, so I just had gone through the advanced civilization, the advanced system, and I was picking up on metal and metals, and I was picking up on metal, like that box, that cube was made out of metal. Okay, and then I started picking up on sensory data, like many, like a group. I wrote down a group and a group effort. And then I started seeing that mask, and what is it called? The Guy Fawkes mask from like Anonymous. And I drew this. Okay, so that's the mask. I drew that in my data, and I wrote anonymous group. Okay, anonymous group. So I was seeing anonymous, and then I heard all work, no play. That's what I heard. All work, no play. And then for my sensory data, I wrote binded and torn, and then I started feeling nauseated. Okay, so let me go to the next page. Then I wrote, I heard safety and numbers, because my sensory data was safety, safety and numbers, and I kept picking up on more group data, like group setting. I wrote group setting. I got rigid and faceted, angular. I was seeing what looked like a gemstone that had been cut. Okay, and so it was like this huge gemstone, like a crystal, and it had been cut. And so I was seeing, like, I wrote faceted and angular and angles, floating and flying, ethers and atmosphere. And then I wrote in the ethers, this is my analytic overlay, was in the ethers, space-time continuum, targeted and targeted individual. And that was the last of my data. And I closed the session right there. After targeted individual.
Very interesting.
And that's it.
And I wonder, because I wonder if this cult might be connected to like targeted individuals, targeting people, orchestrated cyber attacks on people and their lives and stuff like that. I have no clue. I really don't know, but I do think that we could say without a doubt, I think everybody would agree that the data you got seems wholly relevant to the target we gave you. It seems like very spot on. And yeah, I really like the wizard thing. I know we're going back a little here though, but like the Wizard of Oz thing, because it really does seem like they're trying to use the internet as a smokescreen to create this false version of reality until people are so tricked into believing it's real that it becomes reality. You know what I mean? Which is kind of like the message of Wizard of Oz, sort of like, and it's an MK Ultra programming movie too. The Wizard of Oz is used to program MK Ultra assets. I highly recommend that if anybody's in the programs and knows they are, don't read the books, don't watch the movie. Not a good idea. But yeah, it's really, really fascinating info you found there.
Well, it's definitely programming to put it into the collective consciousness of the population. Okay, and so that's a lot.
That's what psychological warfare, which makes me wonder if it's connected to, like you said, the derp state. Yeah, I think that's the best thing to call it, the derp state.
I like that.
And you know what I mean?
Well, then here's another name to haunt from the past: Colonel Michael Aquino with that whole PSYOPs division. This ring and that whole JSOC Pentagon file he shared.
His cult also, Aquino. It was the cult of, what was it called? The
Temple of Set.
The Temple of Set, and it was Set was apparently the ancient Egyptian form of Satan, and it was all connected to like Egypt, like ancient Egypt, like the dark, very dark aspects of that. So yeah, it makes me wonder. I really do think like those people, the Satanists, the dark ones, like I think they're involved in this, and I think it's a psychological operation. I mean, that's really what I think it is, and I think that there is a good chance that it's connected to time projects, alternate reality projects, and due to the fact that you literally got wires and stuff, and Egon was the target. Egon Cholokian part of your artificial intelligence, and then wires and stuff was part of the. So I think he might be a replicant. I think he might because they found out. Oh wait, so all of his videos are AI, but he's a real guy in real life. Like, what's going on here? Because there's videos of him being in real places and stuff.
Yeah, like on a Zoom call or something.
Oh, yeah, or doing like a speech at a meeting or something like that. And you can tell it's a real guy, even though he does kind of have weird mannerisms. And it's funny. I watched this thing called the Meme Ranch. They actually interviewed this dude who met him, and the guy says, "Yeah, I met him in person. He was a real person, but he's like he was really off. Like his mannerisms were different. He just seemed different." And the guy literally goes, "Yeah, because he's a Blade Runner." The interviewer, the people interviewing him, they're like calling him up, because he's a Blade Runner. I'm like, that's ballsy, because the guy was literally part of the AllatRa group that they're interviewing, and I was so surprised how the guy literally, you can find it, the Meme Ranch.
They only have like 1,000
they have
subscribers.
Less subscribers than I do.
Yeah,
and they interviewed one of the guys. I think I could maybe interview someone from AllatRa.
Can I? Archie, let me share my screen. I want to give a shout out to this website, Vigilant Citizen. I'm a subscriber, and so they're behind a small paywall, but I think they're totally worth it. And there's this country in there's Kazakhstan, and they've got a city called Astana, and there's this pyramid of peace. And just looking at like the AllatRa website that you were sharing there, Arkheim, all of this, it really kind of rings like the city and that WEF stuff. And this is the direction that these occultist, globalist, wannabe elites are trying to take us in. And it's like, I could totally see that website just like linked to this city.
What city is this?
It's called Astana. It's in Kazakhstan. Also Nur Sultan. It says Astana is the first capital being built in the 21st century, and it perfectly represents where the world is headed. It's truly one man's vision. Nur Sultan Nazarbayev, the president of Kazakhstan. Yes, Borat's country.
Very interesting.
Borat.
Right, who himself is like a huge psyop and part of them. It seems they not like us.
They not like us.
No. Anyone have any questions in the audience out there? The non-GMO peanut gallery.
Eddie Munster, Michael Aquino.
Yes, Eddie Munster. Yes, for real.
One of the WF toadies said us useless eaters should be reduced to goo and used as biofuel.
No, who's that? You all, Harriman?
Dang.
I
Hey,
just don't think
Coco.
it's gonna happen, and you know what I mean. I really don't think it's gonna happen. I really don't think people are gonna win. I think people are too aware. Like they really expected us to be like much more asleep than we are by now, and they expect a lot of the stunts that they've pulled. They expected them to work much more effectively, and I just feel like and I'm not just saying this. I really genuinely feel in my heart like. It doesn't mean everything's going to be like sunshine and rainbows overnight. Like, that's not at all what I'm saying. We've got a lot of trials and tribulations to go through. I'm pretty sure the turmoil after the election just doesn't matter who wins. It's going to be crazy. We have a lot of bumps in the road ahead of us. But I do think we're headed towards a positive timeline. I think that things are getting better. And no amount of robot trolls or replicants from the future get in the way of what's coming. You know what I mean? People are just too aware. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't think I am, though.
We've gotten so many of them at this point. Like, most of us have gotten a tough skin, and we just don't care anymore. Okay, because we do, even if it is real people that are coming at us and stuff, it's fine. But it's just part of it's part of it when you're doing, you're putting out full disclosure. Like we're doing.
Here's a good recent example of why it feels like we're being attacked by bots a lot of the time. Like on the dumpster fire platform that's Fakebook, a lot of people, especially here leading up to election season for president, which the other side very much cares about, it seems like a lot of people are getting like flagged for like the most innocuous, lame posts that have no reason to be flagged. And it seems like to me, it's just they're using crappy AI algorithms to flag people and then justify giving us longer bans to shut us up, especially as the elections
Yeah, I've
approach.
gotten bans. It's actually, yeah, I've gotten bans.
I'm on one now.
And I'm not actually for any candidate. I'm telling people that by voting for anyone, you're sort of giving them consent. So be careful. People can do what they want. I don't vote, but is I just feel like it's a lot of red light, red blue back and forth, creating emergency chaos, and then we got a leader that's gonna come in and save us. Like I think it's all just a show, kind of. That's my opinion. But people get really touchy about that, so we don't need to talk about that. And I respect everybody's beliefs as much as you know what I mean. Unless your beliefs are like kill people and hurt people, like I respect your beliefs. You know what I mean? So
Yeah. Can I mention something real quick?
Yeah.
I actually personally closely know someone who's a Facebook fact checker, and he and I are no longer friends on Facebook, but I know him personally, like big time. And I know, like, from what he told me, and I know, like, I would never even talk about this if I wasn't pissed off enough to talk about it. Okay. He told me when he first started doing it, he has a huge company. If you've been fake checked there, it's probably him. Okay. And he told me at one point when he first started doing it, I don't care at this point. Okay, it's fine. I'll talk about it. World exclusive. He told me that he followed every time I'd make a post, he would go after he would fact check everybody that I was friends with at some point. And he said I was making him a lot of money, is what he told me. And so we are not friends anymore, even though I might know him very well. And I know he was meeting at the Pentagon. I'm just gonna put that out there. They meet at the Pentagon. This is a government program.
Yeah,
so y'all know.
And Facebook, Penny Bradley talks about how it was made by DARPA, the Department.
Mm-hmm.
I should know what it stands for, but basically it's CIA propaganda. They're watching
Department of Advanced Research Projects Agency, something like that.
Mm-hmm. I don't know what it is. He'll deny it. That's fine. Sorry, no.
I feel
tell me.
Answer it because what did he say? Someone said something. Oh, the Mandela effect of the Scarecrow with the gun and the Wizard of Oz.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's weird.
Absolutely, that's an absolute Mandela effect. Just like in the Bible, Isaiah 11:6, it used to say, "And the lions shall lay down with the lamb," and now it says, "And the wolf shall lay down with the lamb." What? So yeah, these Mandela effects are for real, and so scared with a gun. Yeah.
Can you guys explain what that is to me? Because
yeah. If you watch The Wizard of Oz in our timeline that most of us are from, the whole movie, the Scarecrow is unarmed. The Tin Man is the only one who's armed. He has an axe. Well, now apparently, if you go back and watch The Wizard of Oz, the Scarecrow has a revolver. It's like, where the F did that come from?
He's got like a long nose revolver now. Like, what the hell? That was not in the.
I never noticed that.
The movie
we just watched Wizard of Oz recently, and it wasn't in the movie. It was like
I didn't notice that at all.
Yeah, it wasn't in the movie just like months ago. So they're changing stuff like now.
Yeah, and I've seen that. I've watched that movie since I was a little kid. Like I've seen it like a million times.
Yeah. I know not to watch Wizard of Oz, like I said to the people on the show, because I watched it recently. Don't do that if you're. Don't do it if you're MK Ultra. It was really hard for me to make it through. I kept on disassociating.
They also have somebody who is like unaliving himself in the background too. One of the monsters.
Well, that's real. That's real. That was one of the members of the crew cast who literally did unalive himself.
But why would they keep that in the film?
Oh, apparently it was in the background. You only seen the shadow, and they didn't realize it until long after it had already been shot.
Yeah, I think that a lot of it was like a ritual, like the movie itself, and then there's a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes, and then they're doing the psychic overlaying, which is like they do that with music, but they also do it with movies. Like Preston Nichols talks about in his book how he was actually a sound engineer for Star Wars for a little bit, and there were adepts, like on the site, like putting psychic overlay over the movies, and this is something that they do to make media more powerful, to give suggestions, psychic suggestions, because we're all psychic. That's our subconscious mind. That's then we're not tapped into it enough. But everybody actually picks up on that. So that's a way that they can put subliminal messages in that can't actually be detected by current means of measuring. So yeah, that's an aspect to it as well. Well, I feel like we could probably start to wrap things up. I mean, you know,
I had one question for Jessica. So when you're envisioning or getting the over the data of this Borg-like cube tethered to the sun and its ancient AI technology, did you get a sense of what its orientation was, and not sexual, but in terms of like service to others, service to self, or archonic forces, or it's just old and wise like V'ger from the Star Trek movie?
Really
like
good question, Brian.
Thank you.
Yeah. No, this one that went in this target, it was not tethered to the sun. So that was comparing this to a different target that Barry gave me. So this was just a standalone cube. Okay, that's what I was seeing, and it just had something to do with an advanced civilization. It was advanced artificial intelligence, and it was. I wrote dark, ancient, and advanced. Okay, for this, and I did pick up on jumping timelines. So I don't know if it. I mean, doesn't CERN make us jump timelines too? Okay, it's just some kind of technology that's like making potentially this is something that's making us jump timelines. Back or forth, I don't know. Backwards or forward.
What I've heard some psychic people say is, and like people are getting downloads from like the higher self and things like that, is that envision like a magnet, like a north and a south, and you got like the compass arrow wants to go to the north. It's like the bad guys are trying to like force it to go the other way, and there's like no way that can happen now, pretty much.
I
got a comment about the
Twilight. Kat has actually been making me watch these movies.
Twilight.
Yeah. Well,
Team Jacob.
They're not as bad as.
Yeah, I'm glad you guys moved out before you took that endeavor on.
So, yeah, I've just been we actually just watched the first one.
I do some things for love, you guys.
Yeah.
Okay. And then but then another question here, which I thought she could help with a little bit, is can you talk about George Lucas and how he got his film ideas?
Well, you know more about that than I do.
Oh, I thought you were the one who told me that. Well, basically,
no, you don't.
He got into a motorcycle accident and he was in a coma. And when he woke up, he had all the movie ideas fully formed in his head. Is the story, and so he wanted to be a motorcycle racer, but he changed path after getting like a download of all these movies and stuff like that, and most of them seem to very much so be based on reality. So I think that was like a very much so like a download, or who knows what the hell happened. Maybe he did 20 backs himself when he was in that coma, and you know what I mean? So yeah, there's something weird going on with George Lucas, and the fact he had adepts on his set and stuff like that. And yeah, he's got his own thing going on. The guy's got a lot of money and whole franchise.
I think a psychic somewhere online or on a show, they said that their data or impression was that he was a past life, it was a rebel during the Orion Wars, and that he is basically channeling that into the Star Wars scripts.
That makes sense. Yeah. I mean, so much of it's real. So much of it's No, this line right here is referring to satanic ritual abuse. The rooms where they abuse children are red. So this is a well-known thing. The rooms are red, the doors are red, and that song is a satanic song. And the Rolling Stones were very blatantly, openly satanic. And the end of the Flower Children movement was a concert that they put on in 1971, I think, or something like that, around that time period, where they had the Hells Angels be the security, and the Hells Angels started stabbing people and stuff like that. So that was like the end of the Flower Children revolution. So, and I remember also that Preston Nichols was super duper into the Rolling Stones. Pretty sure that band is like straight up a psyop, like sex, drugs, and rock and roll. was a psyop, because you had social revolutions, social movements, people becoming spiritually aware, reconnecting with the earth, reconnecting with the old ways. What? And they found the perfect way to get in between all that was with sex, drugs, and rock and roll, making people think that doing a bunch of cocaine and drinking a bunch of whiskey and stuff like that is cool. You know what I mean? Like that was like the message of like rock and roll, right? Like, so actually I kind of think that rock and roll in a way sort of was a psyop. So kind of weird.
Yeah, they say that some say that the hip hop was a psyop too. So, like not hip hop, because I love hip hop. Okay, people that know me know I channel a lot of my data through rap songs. Okay, but it was like the East Coast versus West Coast beef and stuff like that. It's like a psyop. Okay, and hey, I think Tupac might still be alive actually. Okay, so
yeah. Also, he was a Montauk time soldier, and he's connected to ancient Egypt.
West Side.
Yeah, man. Tupac is like, I love that. Like,
Wait, that's
like,
East Side, Jessica. Come on, the East Side wants Tupac, right?
Oh, yeah. East Side.
West Side. He was West
Egypt.
Side,
Yeah, I know, but Egypt is considered East Side.
Oh.
If you,
Okay. Yeah. No,
because there is Egyptian artwork or mummies that are similar, and just like Obama apparently isn't he one, and then also Lil Wayne was like another. These are all like DNA or whatever that they. Maybe that's Montauk right there for you, the time travel.
Yeah, and they love to use, these satanic groups love to use our music and to siphon these entities that are connected to ancient Egypt. They love to use music as a way to siphon energy from us. And I've actually found physical evidence of this finally. There's a guy, I actually have notes on him. Roy Ames. And he was a guy that lived in Texas who was a famous snuff film producer who the government caught 3 times. He had literal tons of snuff films and child CP. We're not going to say it because they don't want to get flagged. And the government just let him go and destroyed all the evidence. That's literally what happened. That's not hyperbole. That's literally what happened, because he was part of the CIA. He was part of the satanic cult. He was one of Aquino's buddies, I'm sure. And what else was this guy famous for? What else is he known for? Stealing music from blues musicians in the area.
Here, let me present. I'm going to share my screen. I just found an article on that there, and exactly what you're talking about. Roy C. Ames, the predator who exploited Houston's blues legends.
And I'm just saying that, like, I
haven't heard anything about this.
I'm just saying that this guy is literally the evidence that this is a business model for these people. This is a business model for them. It's like, oh, somebody makes a song, and then I, with all my resources and all my connections that they don't have, steal their creative energy and get all of the money from their work. That's what they do. Yep. And that's what they've done to me on a large scale. And believe me, I am pissed off about it. But that's a whole nother subject for a whole nother show.
Well, never stop being creative. Okay, that's something that nobody can take that away from you.
Yeah, I'm still creative.
What's inside of you?
Yeah.
Yeah. So never stop creating.
Yeah, like, even with this channel, I feel like it's a creative endeavor in some ways. And yeah. Well, I think that we kind of covered a lot of ground here. I'm sure we could. I have a feeling that this is not the end of us talking about AllatRa or Egon Cholokian.
We'll have to keep an eye on that
because they're kind of fresh to the scene. They're kind of new. Like, we're really jumped. Like, we're one of the first truther kind of. I haven't seen anybody in the truther community talk about this yet, and I'm sure other people will.
Let's sink their psyop early. That's good. Let's get their psyop early before it gets any legs.
Psyop early, and I'm kind of disappointed because there's been other people who have talked about this, and in their chat, like, bots were showing up and like defending Egon Cholokian and like saying he's a real person, and thought that might happen tonight, but it didn't. So
it didn't happen. We kept them away.
Stay on top of the weird stuff, babe. thank goodness you have me to find this shit for you.
Yeah, she's actually like a huge resource to this channel. Like, it's one of those things where like a lot of the times like the subject matter that we have here is like stuff she figured out or like looked into. So I really appreciate that.
Y'all make a good team.
Yeah,
We do.
I'm a researcher, I guess.
I'm a researcher.
Well, y'all just put some numbers on it and send it my way, and we'll remote view whatever. Okay, and we're gonna nip it all in the bud before it gets out there.
I want to be on your show again too, Jessica, because you do have
Let's do it.
You have an awesome like ecosystem over there, great audience, great vibes, and I always love doing shows with you. And I have more targets for you. I do.
Thank you. Hey, I see a bunch of my viewers in the chat tonight over here. So what's up, y'all? Thank y'all for coming over here. And
Yeah, so much.
Good. And shameless plug. You see Jessica Jones, the Cryptid Huntress, live once again, 2025, Full Disclosure Now conference.
I love that.
Yeah.
Along with Arkheim and Kat, if you want to be on the stage up there with them too.
All right.
Oh yeah, we'll talk about some of these remote viewing targets next year too. We did that this past year. Arkheim came up on the stage with me, and we went over. I love the robot grandma. Okay, that was one of my favorites. But underground,
I told him about, and he gave the target to you.
So yeah,
best target ever.
Yeah, and you got some awesome pins that you're sending me, I guess too. Right?
I mean, I'll show the audience. I mean, I even had pins made. I made this actually online. This is somebody's
I got
grandma.
mine too. I forgot to wear mine. I forgot to wear mine. I wanted to wear the Karen Sasquatch pin today, actually. That's what I forgot to wear.
Yeah.
The Karen
So
Sasquatch.
this is actually somebody's grandma, so please forgive me if that's your grandma. Okay.
Well, like stock images. She's in like stock images, isn't it?
Yeah,
So she.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Somebody's grandma with like a Terminator eye. Yeah.
Well, we both love pins, so that'll be going on our denim jackets for sure.
Oh yeah, and you got some Karen Swatch pins too. I sent you a whole.
That's right. I'm putting mine on.
Yeah, so everybody, we have Jessica's show linked in the description. Please go over there and subscribe. Check out her Patreon. We also have War Woman Goods in the description.
Thank you.
And she has some awesome jewelry, stuff like that, and that's a way to, directly financially support her. So, and then you get some awesome swag as well, which who can argue with that? So, yeah.
Thank you.
So, I'm gonna end the stream now. Thanks everybody for tuning in. You guys are like the awesomest audience ever, and I love you guys. All right.
Hey y'all.